My internet's a bit patchy, so I'm off video today. I hope you can hear me. Just to go right. Hey, buddy, that is also going. Yeah. Just to go right into the conversation. For those who might be watching or listening to the recording for the first time, trying to figure out what we're doing here, I'll give a bit of introduction into the Rivers 2050 project and sort of what we've achieved so far. I'd also speak a bit about sort of why in the review some people hear some things called plan and some things called vision. And the China video that we just played basically speaks to what that framework is like, what's the difference between a long-term vision, a long-term plan, and who does what, and why is the Rivers 2050 vision innovative in the sense that it's quite unique in the way we've been able to put it together. Okay, so just going right into it. Just as a reminder, I mean, for those who are here and those who don't know, River State is based in Nigeria's south. Um, about 40% of Nigeria's oil and gas output comes from River State. Our population is of about 7 million people. Um, so yeah, we're pretty young states with a really, I think our average or median age is somewhere between like 21 or 24, 21 and 24. So there's a lot of youth, potential and youth potential for growth. Um, despite the fact that we're mostly known for oil, there's so much more that we can be, given the other resources and the location as well that we're in as a state. Um, I mean, we keep bringing this slide over and over again because this was the last time that River State had a long-term plan. Um, it was a 5-year plan, just like China's 5-year plan. And yeah, I mean, that was a plan that led to all of the innovation that we saw in the States, sort of in the late 90s, early 2000s. But yeah, now we've remained in the cycle of visionlessness and lack of planning for quite a while, and we hope that this project is a way to sort of bring us out of that cycle and hopefully begin to do better. So that's why we set up the Reverse 2050 vision. And unlike what you saw with the Chinese plan and Chinese vision, um, this is citizen-led. It's the first time in Nigeria's history, probably first time in Africa's history that we're having the citizens, especially young people, coming together to design a plan for, I mean, non-state actors designing a plan for a state. And in this context, a state, I mean the government or a subnational um, entity. So it's an experiment in so many ways that we've been carrying out for the past almost 2 years. And yeah, we're just interested in seeing how everything has turned out so far. So usually, I mean, the case of China, the case of most of the countries we're going to review shortly, Oman, Qatar, etc. They have leaders who often initiate a vision and they work with private sector and civil society to bring that vision to pass, um, and then announce the vision to the citizens, sort of like an announcement. But in our case, we're turning the thing on its head and we're saying, what if citizens themselves bring the vision to life? And work with experts as we've been doing with our focus group discussions and all the engagements to bring the vision to life. And then, I mean, we are also working with government because we've had folks from the government also feature in the conversations, but in many ways transmit the vision to the government as a citizen manifesto as well. So that's the experiment. Hopefully successful and becomes a thing, in years and years to come for other people to follow and use the same model as well. This is the way we've designed the project. This is the way we've designed the project across 5 phases. So yeah, so we set up a youth task force. That's all of us here. We've done a statewide survey reaching almost 5,000 people. We've engaged experts, about 81 plus experts now. And now we're at the stage where we're drafting the book together and putting together the vision book. Sorry, just in case you hear baby crying, that's my son Sean in the background. I'm trying to keep him calm. as I as I go through this. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to explain a bit about like sorry, it's okay, buddy. Okay. So I wanted to explain a bit about the difference. Sounds I just mute your gifts because the feedback. So I wanted to explain a bit about like the difference in a vision, a plan, and then after I'll explain what MTF and budget is. But I think vision and plan, people seem to use these words interchangeably, but they're not the same thing, right? You saw in China's the video we just watched earlier. In China's example, the vision, think of a vision as a vision board, right? It's a big aspiration of what you want to be. A plan is how you're going to get there, right? What are the steps you're definitely going to take? So what you see on the screen is Nigeria's sort of like integrated planning and budgeting framework, where everything begins with a vision. Everything's supposed to begin with a vision because we haven't had a vision in a very long time, since 2020. But everything begins with a vision, and then plans are then designed to achieve that vision. Um, then for those plans, there's something now called a medium-term strategy or a medium-term expenditure framework, MTEF, which then helps you sort of like allocate money for the next 3 to 4 years on how each of these things within the plan will be achieved. And then from that MTEF, the annual budget is now drawn, right? So it's a pretty like drawn out process. Everything goes all the way back to the vision. So all the things we're saying we want to achieve as a state, broad things, next 5 years, next 10 years, etc. They have to be costed, right? Like someone has to pay for them. So the plan is now what sort of like explains what each of the how each of the things be funded, at what period, at what time. Okay, buddy. At what time, at what period. And then the annual budget that sort of like speaks to the medium term expenditure framework. But what we've had for a long time, especially in river states, is that we just have annual budgets just like come out of nowhere, just randomly speaking to nothing because we have no vision or no plan. It's just a weird way to do governance. So and I hope that this hopefully is one of the ways that we can use to stop this. Nationally, Nigeria currently doesn't have a vision, doesn't have a plan. Our plan just expired last year. The National Development Plan expired last year. So hopefully nationally they can get their act together. But I think states wise, I mean, going forward and to ensure that we use resources better, we need to ensure that after the vision is launched, there needs to be a plan or a series of plans that then feed into the annual budget so that there's a way to like safeguard this. And so what you saw China did, so China they have like two visions, a 2035 vision, which is more of their socialist vision for modern socialist state, and a 2049 vision. So they have these two big visions, and then every 5 years they have a 5-year plan that fits into the vision. So I think they're currently in their 15th, either their 15th or their 14th 5-year plan. That's 75 years of planning every 5 years. And so, I mean, one of the reasons why China seems to be catching up a lot with with the US and the rest of the world as one of like the leading economies and stuff is because they've mastered the art of planning consistently, over and over and over again, and they ensure that their plans to fit into the vision. There are a couple of ways we watched this already. There are a couple of ways that we can do this when the vision book is launched. We can have so like a real estate development strategy, which becomes like a 5-year plan that each administration has to do when they come into office. And that 5-year plan helps to then speak to the long-term vision, right? So it's each administration's way of saying, okay, so we would then, this is what we would do out of the big vision. This is what we would then do for the next 4 or 5 years to be able to achieve it. So that strategy then guides how we budget. Because I think we budget out of thin air, and I think that's a really terrible way to work around governance. And hopefully, we then are also able to do, because I mean, one of the things we're thinking about is that we also want to have a framework, a legal framework as well, to guide the entire process, right? Which is a future generations bill, which is something that we've seen people like Wales. We'll be speaking to the Wales person on Friday. People like Australia as well are trying this out, Norway as well. So the Future Generations Bill ensures that government is bound by law to do certain things as it relates to protecting the rights of the future generation. So yeah, so that's sort of like how we're thinking around this, some of the examples. So when you hear Oman this, UAE this, Qatar this, some of them are visions, some of them are plans. And so we're reviewing to see how and what we can learn from each of them. Okay, so I'm done blabbing. I will now pass this on to the folks who have been doing quite a bit of work to review this. We're not going to have um, all of the all of the things that we plan to review, but I'll see as many as possible that we can go through. Um, I think I'm supposed to go first. Okay, cool. So I will do the first review, which is the review of Ethiopia's 10-year development plan. And luckily, sorry, just give me a sec, guys. Let me. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so yeah, so I reviewed and I read over the past 2+ weeks Ethiopia's 10 years development plan. And luckily, I think last week I was also in Addis, so I got to like observe and see firsthand a couple of the things that I saw in the vision. Well, in the 10-year plan, it's a plan. It's not really a vision. Um, I think Ethiopia's vision. They don't have a vision book, from what I found. They don't really have a long-term vision, but in the plan document themselves, they stated that. Sorry, I'm trying to I'm trying to get away from Sean as this crying. Sorry, guys, just give me 2 minutes so that I can be away. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, visioning and parenting at the same time. Okay, so yeah, so their hope is to become. I mean, Ethiopia, as we know, Ethiopia is the only African country that never got colonized, and they say that really proudly, even in the 10-year plan. They keep reminding us of that over and over again. And I feel like they've overarching vision in what they have in that book is to become a beacon of prosperity. And that's quite interesting because they're one of the African countries who rank very high on poverty. So I think if you check the HDI index, I think this is something that's James Chamberlain is quite conversant with. The HDI index has them at 180 out of 190 countries. I think this is by the UNDP. And so they currently have a lot of poverty, despite being a country that has a lot of resources, right? So their vision is to become prosperous, have a lot of well-being, dignity, quality of life, and stuff like that. I think what I liked in their 10-year plan is that they had quite like actionable targets. Targets on GDP, targets on how they want to cut poverty currently from 19 to 7%, and also how they want to shift the economy as well. Um, just from agriculture generally, because I think they do quite a bit of agriculture because they have a lot of land, towards now like industry and manufacturing. I mean, I think they just launched one of their biggest power. It's probably one of Africa's biggest power, like Africa's biggest hydroelectric systems, right? That they've launched. Um, so that's something that they're working closely on. So I think we can learn about being quite honest about our challenges. They are really honest about the fact that they have quite a bit of poverty. So I think that's a good thing. If we're not honest, we don't know where we're going to fix our problem. So the honesty is key. They also anchor their plan in a law as well. So even if the current prime minister, who is quite visionary, leaves, there's a law that mandates the next person to be able to follow through with their long-term plan, at least for the next 10 years. They have in the law that they should have a midterm review because it's quite popular in Nigeria where they launch these like plans and visions and there's no review of it. So they also have that so that it can survive all the political cycles. And then I think that they also put a number. So I think the last thing, which we might also need to adopt, is that I think they also put a number of jobs that each sector must create. as a way to measure how far that they're growing. Like, so they'll be like, energy sector needs to create like 40,000 jobs. This sector should create 30,000 jobs. So as opposed to having like a general like unemployment reduction plan, they then have each sector having to contribute certain number of jobs to the economy. So for them, if you do that, that's much more than just calculating like GDP growth and all that. So I think that was quite interesting because knowing that we are the third highest unemployment rate in Nigeria, I think that's definitely something we can also add as well. Yeah. Okay, so thanks. That's from me and Sean. I will now pass this on to Paul. Paul, are you here? Paul reviewed Morocco's digital strategy 2030. So maybe you speak a bit about some things that you found.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Ibe. Confirm you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening.
Yeah. Okay, great one. Thank you for the intro and for your Ethiopian vision as well. So, the Moroccan digital 2030 vision or plan, like I would say it, so they anchor their plan and vision based on digitalization. So they want to see a more robust digital economy and then again a more digital system that is working for them in their country based on the fact that in the coming years and even now the world is most likely to be driven by artificial intelligence and all of that. So one thing they've actually put into plan, and I think is something we can learn from them, is to have the entire government services to be digital. Like I know we try some time based on our tax paying system, and then we bring in a couple of laws to see how we can do that from the comfort of our homes and try to make it more digital. And in terms of business registration as well, so we can look into those things and healthcare and into education. So we need to improve all of this system and make it a more digital system. And this is what the Moroccan government is trying to ensure that they do by 2030. They want to have a robust digital system. So I think it's something we can buy into and then put it into our vision for River State. And just to say, Morocco taking themselves to that level is a cool country. But this is us trying to extract what a country wants to do to a state. And then you can see how effective that can be if we bring that into our vision and plan as well. And another thing they're trying to do is to ensure that they invest in innovation hubs and ICT infrastructure. So I think on Aba Road, we had one River State ICT center when it came up, that place used to be very busy. You see small hubs where people just go. I use it for once. People go there, and then there was a free Wi-Fi system. The internet system was good. And the last time I passed around that area, I'm not sure it is as functional as it was when it was first built. So these are the things we are actually lacking as a state, and these are the things we need to have, and not just one. We need to have as much as we can, even to the rural areas. We need to have hubs like that where people can go. They have access to internet, and then they can actually develop on digital skills. And this will actually make us to have a diversified economy and beyond the oil, because you mentioned, if you go outside of the state and then you say you are from river states, they'll be like, yeah, oil money. So beyond the oil, we want to have a kind of a digital system that makes us not just an oil state, but also a digital state that is thriving in that aspect as well. So we need to put that into our vision as well so that and it will create a sustainable employment opportunities for the youth out there. And the last one is to prioritize digital literacy, in terms of that education as well, and make the internet affordable. I mean, this is something the government of Rivers State can do, and to all rural areas as well. You see a couple of children right now. They want to go and get jam, for example, and then they are not really internet savvy. They're not really computer savvy, and that's because they'll tell you that I'm coming from say say I'm coming from somewhere like Ghana, I'm coming from somewhere like Abuja. So it is only you see people now scoring so high in JAM. It is only the people in the city that are getting that real-time high JAM score, for example. But those times when um the JAM was not a CBT case, we had people even in the village that could write JAM. Their score was high because the education system was flat. It was a classical education system for everybody. You go and then you write what you've learned. But now that they've taken that to another level, so it is only those that in the city schools, the urban areas that are getting these high scores because the people in the village, they don't have that internet savvy, although they don't have the computer to practice and all of that. So this is something we need to do. And Morocco is trying to say that by 2030, they want to have the 5G coverage to over 70% of their population. That's huge. And taking that back to us as a state, we can do more. We can do better than that. We can even have this 5G coverage, or even maybe by then, if we have an internet that is even more stable and faster than 5G, we could have it to, let's say, 80% or 85% across the states. That will go a long way and then keep our education system in a very digital and limelight as compared to what they may have or what we might be comparing to around the world. So these are the things I found about the Moroccan plan by 2030, and it's a plan that is built on digital innovation and digital lifestyle, and it's something that we need to adopt. And like I heard one time we had the Sing Force that is stationed in UST, and they are doing a lot of work around in terms of digital services. We could have more, not just Sing Force. We could have more in the states that gives us or um, that gives our digital services to other people and beyond Nigeria and to the world as well. So this, I think, is it's a good vision that Morocco has put into place, and is actually something we can really put into our vision as well. Yeah, thank you very much.
Mom.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. I like how you like like brought it home and made sure that you talked about like how even like the ICT center and some of the things that we already have and how we can implement them. Thanks a lot for sharing that. And for those who are wondering why we have quite a bit of like Middle East and North African, you hear about quite a bit of Middle East, North African plans and visions. That's because just as Paul said, quite a number of these people are also people that are in our kind of context. They're small, like Riverside and Qatar are exactly the same size. They have oil, we have oil. There are people who are like us, who we think that's if there's anybody we can mirror and try to be like Morocco and Co are people that we think that we can basically try to be much more than like China and all of these folks that have gone way, way, way ahead. We can learn from their processes, but I think when it comes to like learning from where they are at the moment, those guys are way, way ahead of us. So these are contexts that we think that we can mirror easier because these are people who are not too far from us development wise. So that's basically why. But yeah, thank you so much, Paul, for sharing that. James might have to jump off towards the end, so I want to bring James in quickly. James is reviewing Qatar National Vision 2030. James, over to you. You just maybe 5 minutes, just speak through what the blueprint looks like and what you think we can
Okay.
learn from it. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, can you all hear me? Good evening, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you. Good evening.
Okay, good
Good
evening.
evening.
So just a brief one of Qatar National Plan for 20 Vision for 2030. So Qatar is a very fantastic country because we have some similarities in the sense that they have oil, we have the resources, they also have the resources, but we've seen that they've been able to plan the city so well that everybody now wants to go to Qatar. So So basically, it takes me back to their major focus. So I'll just run through briefly so I don't take so much of our time. So if there's one thing I got is the knowledge-based feature. Knowledge-based feature, which is continuous to build a bridge between the present and the future. That is, it envisions a vibrant and prosperous country which has economic and social justice of all, in which natural and human nature and man are in harmony. So just like we have in River State, where we have lots of economic activities, in the sense that we have deforestation, we have environmental degradation and all. It's not the best for us where we don't have that synergy between nature and man. But for Dubai, they are balancing, there's an intergenerational interest, balancing the present and the future, effective resource management, and then continuous improvement in government and transparency. So you're looking at comprehensive development is the main goal in striving for progress and prosperity of our people. That is Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. So the knowledge-based human capital, I think Ibn made mention of HDI. So you can imagine that the HDI for River State is very low, and there is need for knowledge-based development. That is human capital development, not just assumption-like development. But if you really want to look at the major indices for development, it is human-driven, not just infrastructure driven. Yes, infrastructures are good, but the people who need to manage this whole infrastructure thing are human beings. So it's looking at the present and the future, which we have not gotten right in this part of the world. So looking at modernization, balancing global competitiveness with deep roots in social values. Social values for us as Africans, we have our value systems, what drives us. And then you're looking at the need for the generation to be, like I talked about, intergenerational justice. That's avoiding inefficient use of wealth. That's you have a balance of resource control and management. So you're looking at preventing economic overheating, if inflation and deteriorating public services. Now we have most of our public services already deteriorating. Like I know some years ago, we had some of the best public schools, but those schools for River State or in River State are all a shadow of itself of what it used to be. So economic growth and then environmental management, yeah, I talked about that briefly. Refusing to sacrifice the natural environment to heavy industrial expansion where the environment is not taken care of. So Qatar's permanent constitution and Islamic values, justice, benevolence, equality, looking at protection of public and personal freedom, promotion of moral and religious freedom and values, guarantee of security, stability, and equal opportunities. So yes, so for 2030, looking at human development, which is the core of any development of all people to sustain a prosperous society. Then you're looking at social development, development of a just, caring society, playing a significant global role, which is what you're already doing. And then economic development, a competitive, diversified economy, securing high living standards. Sorry. So you look at harmony between economic growth and social progress, and economic environmental protection. So um, these things are achievable. So you look at a world-class curriculum fostering analytical thinking, innovation, and a strong sense of Qatari citizenship. So a healthy population still falls down to HDI, capable workplace. So I just to round up, I'm just trying to round up, sorry. So you're looking at the family as the unshakable basis of society. Yes, you're looking at our family values. Growing up, we used to have very strong family values, but those family values have been eroded. So you're looking at effective social protection, ensuring civil rights, and you can also look at the global perspective. So economic development. So just to round up, just to a quick one, environmental developments. So I'm just trying to be fast. So basically, it's more about human social. I call it HSEE. So you look at HSE being the human, social, economic, and environment. So it's a balanced perspective where they're looking at the human development, the social development. So these two, the human will rub off on the social and economic, and also affects environmental. So which is major for every forward-thinking country has to focus on HDI, that's the Human Development Index, which has to do with education, healthcare, and poverty reduction. So um, reinforcing hydrocarbon wealth and diversification of funds for public good, public infrastructure. So I think the other day when Eben and I were on radio, we talked about creating a River State sovereign investment fund. That would be like diversification of oil, like oil revenue into a sovereign wealth fund where non-oil startups can have access to. So yes, and I think we would also be taking this conversation forward with the state government in the next few weeks. So yes, so finally, I just want to round up. So the ultimate outcome of all this that has to do with the concentration of human HDI, Human Development Index, and focus on people is transforming Qatar into an advanced country by 2030 is capable of sustaining its own development and providing for a high standard of living for all these people for generations to come. So it's possible. If Qatar can do this, we can also do it. I know River State has a lot to learn from this, and I believe together we can achieve this. So going forward, I think we would also need to work with state governments, not minding their political affiliations, and let's see how to come up with these strategies. Hopefully, when the vision book is published, we'll have to engage state governments more to see that we have a long-term vision. Sadly, River State does not have one, and I'm glad that we are all part of this to create one. I'm sorry I've taken much time, so please bear with me. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, thank you so much, James. Yeah, I mean, really well said, especially on how they focus on human development. I think building roads and skyscrapers are not good enough if human beings cannot feed themselves. So I think just that emphasis on ensuring that people need to be taken care of. Like Qataris are taken care of. They're probably some of the richest people in this country. You can see that the country's wealth basically goes to the people. And I think that's something River State needs to figure out. It makes no sense to be called an oil state if we have one of the highest poverty rates in the South. So I think that's definitely something that we need to figure out. Okay, cool. I'll move on now to the next person. Thank you so much. I saw Udo here. I hope she's still here. Woman Vision 2040. Over to you, Udo. I think we probably lost Udo because I can't see her anymore here. So let's move on to the next. Kufre also is still on his way. He's in transit, so he hasn't been able to come on. Okay, Gift. I saw Gift here as well. Gift? He's still here?
Yes, good afternoon,
Nigeria
sir.
Agenda 2050. Yeah. Over to you.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So, from my review, saw that Nigeria's national vision for 2050 is to be a dynamic, industrialized, and knowledge-based economy that generates inclusive and sustainable development, which actually means that network. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello.
we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you. Go on. We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So, which vision is to move every citizen of Nigeria from the poverty line to upper middle economy. So, the mission is to provide a guide for the implementation of a series appropriate medium-term plans for inclusive and sustainable development of the country. So the overall target is to make Nigeria achieve a sustained 7% economic growth by modernizing infrastructure and the business environment, diversifying industries to lead Africa, and eradicating poverty through good governance. So the goal of uh, the Nigeria's 2050 agenda is to increase the GDP per capita of every of its citizens. That by 2050, everybody's annual GDP per capita will be $33,328 per annum, and increase the economy by 7%, generates 165 million new jobs. That by that year, 2050, drastically reduce the number of Nigerians living in poverty to 21.1 million from the past estimate of about 80 million people living under the poverty line. So, in achieving this vision, um, it is being diversified into different strategic pillars, which has to do structural transformation, uh, human capital development, environmental sustainability, and infrastructural and competitiveness. On competitiveness, sorry. So, structural transformation, which has to do from dependence of oil and diversifying into other sector, maximizing the natural resource of the nation, closing infrastructural deficits, the power, infrastructure, transportation, and otherwise. Then prioritizing accessible education, high quality healthcare, food security for a vibrant society. Then for environmental sustainability, to reduce carbon footprint and a circular economy with zero net emission, leading to a sustainable development. So, what can River State actually learn from this Agenda 2050 of Nigeria's vision? Is harnessing the blue economy and coastal resources. um, there are, the River State is blessed with a lot of with a lot of coastal resources. Um, Looking at building seaport as strategic local governments like Andoni LGA, Degima LGA, they have direct access. Boni, Opobo, they all have direct access to the Atlantic Ocean. So harnessing the blue economy and other coastal resources, fishing, and all of that will help put River State on a different lane, on a fast lane of development. Then another thing River State also can learn from this is transitioning to a secular and knowledge-driven economy, whereby over the years, for the past 50 years, dependent we've been depending um, on the carbon economy, which is oil and gas, which has caused um, which has destroyed our environment and caused us to leave what actually gives us food on our table. So, other aspects of the economy, like the orange economy, investing in creatives, the creator economy, investing in the creator economy, the gold economy, which has to do with technology, digitalization, high tech innovation, harnessing the winds on the Atlantic eh, with technology can help generate energy for River State as a whole. And the green economy, sustainable development, energy development, thereby protecting the. Then the last one is to codify the development plan into laws. So all this vision cannot actually come to reality The Agenda 2050 of River State cannot come into reality if there are no structured and effective policy being put into place. Because everything we have, every citizen-led ideas, we are all gathering as data. We need to translate it into plan, a policy, and then we have to follow it up, having a midterm, short-term plan, and see how we are actually achieving the vision. So these are what River State can actually learn from the Agenda 2050 of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gifts. I think that the document you reviewed is probably one of the most important to us as well, because Rivers 2050 as well, that cannot stay in a silo. It needs to also fit to the national context. And so um I think I like the points on the blue economy. This also came up during the blue economic focus group as well. On the need for us to really, really harness our blue economy. We can't be a state with rivers and not have an active blue economy. So that's a really good point. Thanks. All duly noted. Udo, are you back? Are you able to speak? Can you hear us?
Can you hear me? No?
Yes, we
Can't hear
can
me?
hear you. We can hear you.
You can't
So
or you
let's
can?
so let's go to Oman. Yeah, over to you.
Okay. Sorry, I have to apologize that I have a very, very bad network today. So please just get my attention if at some point you can't hear me. Good.
Okay.
All right. So hi everyone. Good evening. With Oman's vision, there are three key things that has been highlighted here. As with the development of the vision. First things first is that this one now is a 20-year plan compared to maybe some of the other vision plans that you're going to come across on this session today. So the Oman's development plan is a 20-year vision that has been built now around 12 what you call national priorities. And maybe as we go on and we start to share a lot more about the Rivers 2050 vision book, you'd also see that there's some also similarity with how we developed our priorities, which were originally 15 of them, and also have been now further broken down into 4 key domains that touch across human capital, the economy, government or governance, and territory. And I like that they intentionally not just built the vision around the 12 national priorities, but then they also broke them down into these now four key domains that cuts across, the life of the citizens and, just transformation in the country generally. But yeah, without dwelling on that, the next one is that this vision plan was developed across 6 years, and it was highly participatory. So you find that the government was involved, private sector, civil society, organizations, academic institutions. You'd also find that they were inclusive of young people's voices, the women's voices, people with disabilities. All of this is also similar to what we're now putting together as an inclusive vision for the Rivers 2050, which is highly citizen-led. Also, lastly, the Oman's vision was operationalized through 6 national programs. I also figured out that 4 of them were particularly named around what's it called now? Their local language. I'm not sure I can pronounce that or pronounce those. But yeah, I think I'd encourage everyone to read it up, especially because now you're on the task force and you're contributing in capacity towards now the Rivers 2050 vision. So you need to also go through to also see some of these 6, national programs that have been named, and maybe I can just jump across it. So there is the sustainability and the financial development side. There is also economic diversification, there is investment, there is export development, there is employment, there is something called the government digital transformation program. And then there is also something also called, which is similar to something that the Nigeria has in its development plan, which is now something around carbon neutrality. But yes, it's the entire vision is pretty much fast-paced. It was inclusive as it could be. And most of these programs were actually carried out across different, what you call Oman's governorate. Something like River State, not necessarily on the local administration, but if you now want to, I guess, understand how that administration was properly broken down, maybe you can use a local administration like within the state's administration. And then a few learnings from the Oman's development plan was, first of all, diversification, which again you'll find across most of the national plans that will be reviewed today. Most of those countries moved from centering or building their economy, especially the ones that were heavily dependent on oil. So Oman has a population of about 5.8 million, and that's over half of, that's over half of River State's current population. And they're also like around the Gulf state, or they're a Gulf state, and heavily dependent, or they used to be heavily dependent on oil, like what River State has been dependent on. But one thing that they shifted, and one thing that also was central to their transformation, was now diversification of the movement, or the shift from being oil dependent into now other sectors that were not necessarily newly created. These are sectors that were already existing, and what they just needed to do was to build a framework around these existing industries, or these existing sectors, and then they built a framework around it, and translated that framework now into policy, which is something that River States should also be doing. There is a waterways where we need to put a lot of investment into. There is the agriculture, there is the creative economy. There is different key sectors that are existing that has not been paid attention to, that should be heavily invested in. And then the next thing also was how for the Oman, and it was something that was clearly stated, or that message was clear on the vision, on their vision plan, on the document itself, where they acknowledged that they had previously been an oil-dependent state, or an oil-dependent country, and that didn't work. It wasn't sustainable at all, and that also led towards now the plan to diversify the economy. But typically of our country and our states is that River State particularly has received what's it called now? River State has received state and federal allocations from the revenue generated from oil, and in all of these allocations, there's never a time where the government came and publicly said, oh, this money that we received, or these resources that we've received on a state level and on a federal level, this is where that money went into. There's never been any sort of accountability of any sort. But then Oman, something that was really commendable, that struck me in particular, was that in that document, they had stated clearly that their dependence on oil for a while didn't work at all. And that's what, led them towards now, the plan, the diversification plan. So I think that for our government, we need to I don't know if it's to enforce that. So I don't know how we want to do that, but that needs to be done, where our leaders need to be a lot more accountable and publicly let us know, especially because and maybe as we're developing now our 25-year vision plan, um, we need to also encourage the government as we build now our 5-year or midterm plans or midterm ambitions. I think part of those midterm plans will be the government highly being transparent and taking accountability of how those plans are now being executed, that is in the best interest of the citizens, where if there's any time that something or an allocation was supposed to happen or an investment was supposed to go somewhere and it didn't go there, somebody has to take responsibility for that and has to do that publicly, right? So it's like year after year, we need to know, where resources have been channeled into, what has worked and what hasn't. I think that because now this vision is mostly citizen led, um, we deserve that sort of that level of accountability and transparency in how the state is being governed or how the people are being governed. And then lastly is, yeah, the government has tried to do a lot of things poorly, and what we now need to do is, rather than the government assigning or allocating contracts to what different government agencies to handle. I think part of diversification is that they should now split, most of those allocations to the private sector and some CSOs who have better insights and better frameworks to build on where those what commitments are now being made. So yeah, that's basically for Oman and their development plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was very, very insightful. Yeah, I can fully resonate with that last point on government trying to do everything by themselves. I mean, when we had Singapore, the Singapore session, we heard him talk about like a multi-stakeholder approach. So I think that's something that we need to really hammer on for government to be able to bring in partners as well. Okay. So Kufre is in here. We've done Nigeria. Is Chinon still here? Is Chinon still here? No? Okay. I might have to stop share. Let me put on Chike's. Just give me a sec. Over to you, Chike.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Today we'll be discussing about the Saudi vision, which is honestly one of the most impressive visions ever, one of the most ambitious visions ever. It's a national transformation that is led right from the helm of administration over the Saudi Arabia and its entire emirate. Recently, Saudi Arabia's GDP crossed the 1.28 trillion US dollar mark in 2025. And this is simply because they decided to a very simple mantra: use the oil not as a revenue, but as capital. Their vision was so extensive to the fact that they were able to sponsor crazy ideas and crazy dreams that led to them having the PIF, which is seen as one of the greatest innovations when it comes to the use of public funds. They based this vision on a three-pillar overview. They wanted one, a vibrant society where a mixture of cultural and religious identity, and they are being able to attract at least 30 million people every year because of one single fact: the Umrah. The fact that Saudi Arabia is the capital of the Islamic world makes 30 million visits a vision that they must build towards. So you will not continue to have a rowdy environment just because you know that people are going to come over and visit you. They would rather prefer to give people the convenience of enjoying a wonderful experience whenever you come to Saudi Arabia. And with the revenue, the capital they were getting from the oil revenue, they were able to fund this dream. Two, they wanted a thriving economy. And this meant they had to diversify their economy. Their major players when it comes to imports still remains the US, the UK, Canada, Australia, and for exports, they rely mainly on Mexico, uh, Qatar, and some other Gulf states where they export most of their locally made goods to. Now, all these dreams that we are talking about stemmed from one particular person, and that individual is the king himself, King Salman. He has been the one in charge of this particular vision. And he has been so intentional about it that it is something that has carried over from each individual of government down to every Saudi Arabian you see down in the streets. So they have this ambitious goal that they will build an efficient and transparent governance. They would have to align their dreams to allow for digital transformation where AI, smart cities, and a world efficient healthcare is available in Saudi Arabia. And I don't know if people know about this, but there are various times where, say, Saudi Arabia, through its various parastatals, maybe through Saudi Aramco or through their health scheme, they recruit the best individuals from every nation in the world simply because they have that dream of providing top quality, efficient service to anybody who resides in Saudi Arabia. So this is a vision that I must say it's enviable. It is vast, and it requires a lot of intention. I wouldn't say money, but I would say intention, because if the intention is not there, any other thing you say or add to it is just going to be a distraction. So to have a vibrant city, you must understand what you have at that point. Saudi Arabia is a country made up of 33 million individuals. River State, on our own, we are based on, say, give or take 5 to 7 million, if I'm correct, individuals living in River State. If we're going to have to position ourselves on oil revenue, we would not be able to compare. But what have we done with ours? Look at what Saudi Arabia has done with a simple change of treat your oil revenue as capital. So they're able to go into deals, they're going to negotiate from the point of, we want this. What is the best you can offer us? Because they do not have any other distraction that comes with governance or sharing a distracted vision. Everybody keys in on this vision. So Saudi Arabia has been able to flaunt, or should I say, engage in one of the most ambitious deals when it comes to infrastructure. If you have been to Saudi Arabia, I've been to Saudi Arabia twice. I would I would only want to put them on the same scale as Abu Dhabi. I want to put them on the same scale as Qatar, because Qatar has tried to bring their own vision to reality. Saudi Arabia is doing a whole lot more. I would keep this on. I know there were certain times that various agency heads in Nigeria were scouted to Saudi Arabia. Why? They were the good branch that we had in our workforce, and we are building what is called the smart cities on the deserts. This is bringing the deserts to life. So you're not just seeing what Las Vegas used to be when it was then the one of the major capital, one of the major front cities of the world. But Saudi Arabia is doing a whole lot more with her deserts, and they are recruiting the best hands anywhere in the world. So to keep this on on time, I want to say that having that intention, that simple intention of using your oil revenue as capital has changed the mindset, has bonded the people together, and has made the economic goal of the country to be streamlined towards down from management, that which is the royal king, the royal family, down to the average Emirati or the Saudi Arabian you see walking down the streets. He knows he's going to get the best version of life. He knows he doesn't have to travel anywhere in the world to get the best healthcare, the best real estate, the best the best universities. And if you check the leadership team of Saudi Arabia down from the king, they all have one thing in common. They all schooled in Saudi Arabia. Why? Because they were able to attract the best tutors all over the world to come to King Fahd University and teach them. If you are born from Saudi Arabia, the benefits are immense. Why? They have a sovereign fund, which is called the Public Investment Fund, which is kept and funded by the king towards this same vision of having a three-pillar society that is industrialized, that is culturalized, and that is also transformed to meet the global needs that the world desires. So I wouldn't want to take much of your time, but I want to say that we have a lot. If you're going to have to do this, we have a lot to do. I would want to say that we peg our own vision to start from, to end by 2050. If you're going to follow the same model, because one, we don't have the funds. Two, we don't have a streamline where we are converting our revenue to capital. We don't have that mindset either where we want to build for the future. So we have a lot to do, and this sort of dreams takes a lot of intention. Uh, I'll leave it at that, and I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Chike. That was really, really well said. I think people don't realize how young MBS, the Crown Prince, is. He was born in 1985. That's around the same age as most of us on this call. Most of us on this call, or just a little older. And just looking at what he's already doing. I mean, you spoke about Neom, the city in the desert and everything, just revolutionary ideas that are way beyond, our time, and I think that shows you that if a young person really can achieve all of that, I mean, what is really our excuse? I like the point you made on also using oil revenue as capital. I think James mentioned that as well, something Qatar also does. The UAE does that as well really well. For us, oil revenue becomes political money. We need to change that mindset. It needs to be capital that we use to invest in other sectors to grow the economy and grow our state as well. So thanks for pointing those out. I think Onis is going to speak to, let me stop sharing, bring in his points. Onis will speak to Norway's digital strategy. But Norway generally is also one of those countries in Europe that are if you want to equate anybody in the Middle East, to Europe, it's Norway. They are forward thinking. Just like the PIF, they also have their own sovereign wealth fund the highest and the richest sovereign wealth fund in the entire world. They've been able, I mean, they now own what's the equivalent of 1% of all publicly traded companies in the world. And when I was speaking to Onis earlier about this, Onis was like, no wonder they don't care about anything going on in this world. Because even if oil stops today or tomorrow, they are never going to be stranded, you know. I think that's the kind of foresight that we need to be employing. Onis, I'm just trying to get up your slides now, but feel free to come off mute and maybe start speaking about the preliminary things you found while I get your slides up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Um, I've actually gone to a very quiet place, hoping that I'll be able to be audible enough for you guys to hear me and also for me to hear myself. I've been struggling to follow up with the meeting. I don't know why the volume from the audio is very low, but let's see how we can make do with what we have. So, like Eben said, the truth about it is that Norway has a very exciting plan. They have a series of plans which we're not going to cover, obviously, because of time and also because of our direction for the meeting this evening. And so we're going to be looking at their digital plan for 2030. That's a very ambitious plan. In fact, the overarching aim of the plan is for them to become the most digital country in the world by 2030. Now, this is crazy because 2030 is how many years from now? 2030 is about 3 years plus from now. So obviously they're a very serious country. So what that means is that they are most likely going to hit their aim or will not be far from it. In fact, they want to be the number one Nordic country when it comes to public digitalization, right? They want to be the number one country in the OECD when it comes to artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, digitalization. They just want to be number one. That is the aim of their 2030 strategy. These guys want to be number one, and nothing is going to deter them from achieving that. So, like I said, their overarching goal, that's the overarching goal of this strategy is for them to become the most digitalized country in the world by 2030. But then there are sub goals, right? There are sub objectives, there are sub visions. And I don't know. Okay. They actually more than what is in the slide, the when it comes to the overview of their vision. But then we're just going to look at what is here because I think there are about eight sub visions, right? And obviously, they are not going to fit in the space for the slides. So the first sub-vision is the borderline of it is that they view that digital economy as a critical sector, right? A critical infrastructure. They don't consider it one of those sectors, right? So um, the way they've designed it is such that, or the way they plan to design it, obviously we're very close to 2030. So the way they've designed it, the way they've planned it, so it's not like they are planning now, they're actually implementing their vision, right? So the way they've implemented it is such a way that um, just as you have road infrastructure, you have water supply, you have electricity supply, that's how they've built their digital platforms, or that's how they intend to build their digital platforms, depending on how far they've gone with their program. So why is this important? They are doing this so that no matter what happens, their their digital infrastructure is running. So the design is in such a way that it can withstand any form of crisis, it can withstand any form of natural disasters, right? It can withstand any form of conflict. Um, we're all aware of the Ukraine Russia war and how that um, despite the bombardments and the devastation that has come with the war, light has not gone. Buildings still have light. Buildings still have water running, running into them to service the people that are in those buildings, right? So just as you have electricity, gas supply, road infrastructure as critical aspects of the economic critical sectors, Norway wants their digital infrastructure to be a critical national infrastructure, right? And the goal is that they want it to withstand any form of crisis. So that's the first sub-vision or the first sub-goal. Now, the second sub-goal is that they want to create an integrated digital ecosystem for their citizens to enjoy seamless service, right? And for their citizens to experience government as one connected system rather than many disconnected agencies. Okay, so how are they going to go about this? They are obviously going to build a one-stop shop for all of their digital services. That is to say that government agencies are going to share the same platform, though different, different platforms within a particular system, right? So that's how they seek to design it. And I saw something. Maybe I'll just say it before we move further. The plan for this seamless service is not just it's not just about the government or about citizens receiving seamless service from the government. It's also about how households, the quantity of data, the quality of data. So the quantity of data, the quality of data that households are going to enjoy. I saw in a place reading it was about 1 gigahertz of data. That's the quality. So just like you have um, if you go to the village now in some parts of Nigeria, even in River State, right? If you go to my mother's village, go to my father's village, sometimes you have to go to the riverside, for you to be able to have quality network. These guys don't want that. They want everybody to be able to access at least 1 gigahertz. Those that are into tech, they understand better. But that kind of quality of service, that is what they want. And they want it to be seamless, right? So they are building a platform for all of their agencies, so that you just go to the platform and then you go to the division that you want and then you access the service, that you want. And they want it to be as quick as possible, as seamless as possible, right? Now, they also want to digitalize their economy, but they want to do it. They want it to be citizen centric, right? So they are not designing their digital economy because of a need that they are trying to meet. They are not doing it because of government agencies. They are not doing it because of any other thing than their citizens. So all of their designs, right, their digital economy is done around their citizens, and the goal is for digital inclusion, right? So nobody is excluded, right? Whether you're young, whether you're old, they don't want to leave anybody behind in their digital transition. Now, I'm going to come to the importance of these sub goals, these sub visions for our Rivers 2050 vision and what Rivers State can learn. And I'm going to start with this last point I made. A lot of us, we find it difficult to use, this whole digital ecosystem, especially when we want to relate with, a certain age category, right? So our digital ecosystem some way somehow has excluded a certain age category, right? Norway doesn't want that. Norway wants the old and the young. So they are building people friendly digital systems, right? And if we are going to imbibe, if we're going to try to localize and domesticate what Norway has done, then our digital ecosystem should not exclude a certain age category, should not exclude people with disabilities. Like I don't know how many. Okay, I think Iben will know this guy. There's this Ugonna that is on Twitter that is always posting about South Korea stuff and all that. But there was something he posted recently that caught my attention, and that's the fact that their ATMs have braille. Now, braille is a system that is that it has been there always. It has been there for a while now for blind people to help them read, right? So their ATM machines have a braille system to help the blind access money, right? I don't think I've seen that in Nigeria. I don't know if there is, because it's been a long time I used, you know, an ATM machine, right? But that is where the world is going. That is where Norway is going, and that is where Rivers State should be thinking of going, right? A digital ecosystem that is inclusive, that does not leave anyone behind, right? So other points that Rivers State can learn quickly, because there's no more time. The digital infrastructure of Rivers State should become a foundational pillar and not a support structure, right? And this is important because it should be operational during emergencies. So it should not be a support system wherein, okay, if you know work, just as we do in Nigeria, anyhow. Like these are whole electoral stuff and all that, wherein we have built a digital platform that should count voters and then give us a result. And then we are still going behind to say, okay, if you know work, it's in civilized climes, people are going to lose their jobs because of that. Why is that so? Because they design their systems to mitigate against such failure. They see their systems as a critical infrastructure, right? They don't see it as just a support system where we can go back, revert to counting 1, 35, 70, 1,000, where they are just 10 persons and all that. So River State has to design the digital ecosystem as a critical and vital infrastructure, as a foundational infrastructure, right, and not just a support structure. Also, Rivers State should establish a single citizen digital identity. Now, Norway has done this. All right, I think what's his name now? Peter Obi did something like this in Anambra State where they had a card. Alex Oti has done something similar in Abia State, right? So you don't need to pay money cash to use their electric buses, their cards. You just use your cards. So many countries have done this. Even in Germany, you can go drop your plastic bottles, and then it is going to give you some credits in your that using that your identity, right? That identity, and then it's going to credit your card. So as you're doing circular economy, dropping your plastic bottles, you are now credited some form of units for you to use, public transport and other infrastructure. So this is important because a lot of things can be tied to that identity. A lot of things can be done through that simplified digital identity, right? And also Rivers State should look towards an integrated database, right? Shared platforms and data exchange platforms, as well as a robust GIS infrastructure. Why is the GIS infrastructure important? The next one is important because we cannot talk about a just transition, right? And also climate resilience without a GIS infrastructure. A GIS infrastructure will ensure that the environment is properly monitored, right? Because GIS systems are designed to not just to they are designed to monitor the environment. Okay, so we need I'm trying to rush because I know that time is gone. All right, so the next is important that we prioritize cybersecurity. This is important because if we're building a digital ecosystem, then we have to have laws that protect the cyberspace, right? So we in planning for our digital economy, we have to also have cybersecurity, cyber laws, and also to ensure digital resilience, to ensure that the government data is properly protected. Recently, we saw the news of how several agencies in Nigeria had been hacked. it should be no news to us because we know the way we build our systems in this country, especially public owned systems. There is this carelessness that we use in building our system. So I wouldn't be shocked that there are loopholes for hackers to exploit. So River State should not just build a digital ecosystem, but also provide a governance framework that protects that system, right? I've talked about building digital inclusion, and then lastly, I'm going to say that River State should learn from Norway. This point was not captured under the vision and plan, but it's there, right? So Norway has designed their digital ecosystem to help them diversify their economy. All right. So I think someone mentioned, is it Oman? The lady that was talking about Oman, she mentioned how that they are looking at diversifying from oil, right? So a digital ecosystem that is well built, right, just as Norway is, can help us diversify the river's economy. I saw that we contribute 40% to rivers oil production, right, which is huge. But the world is moving towards a world without oil, and so River State should also use the digital ecosystems to help us diversify our economy so that we're not just reliant and dependent on oil and the risks that come with such an economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Onis. Very well, like insightful conversation. And it's very interesting that Norway, even that has a history of like good investment of their oil profits, are also thinking of diversification. You know, it's almost like every single person that is even having much more oil than us are, are even planning to diversify much more than us. You know, so it means that that's a wake up call for us to be able to wake up as a people and as a state. Okay, before I go to Lagos, but resourceful here, so we can do Bahrain and then we go to Lagos and we wrap it up. Resourceful, are you still here? I think he's gone out. Okay, so Bira, let me come to you so we can do Lagos and then we wrap up the conversation. Done Saudi. Okay, over to you, Bira.
Okay, please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right, thank you to everyone that has spoken already. Okay, so basically we are talking about Lagos State, the long-term plan of Lagos State, which spans about 30 years from 2022 to 2052. And I just summarized their overview in 3 core points. So like the core vision, the plan is to elevate Lagos State into Africa's model mega city. So I think this is one thing that we must inculcate in our plan, because this was very explicit. They made this very clear that this is the goal of this vision, and I think it just sort of like brings together everything uh, with long-term planning. So I will believe that I think we've tried so much to do this, but I would want us to also have like a very, very core, what should I call it? A core underlying vision, basically, just like Lagos had set out to do. So their vision was to translate Lagos into the mega city, or the model mega city of Africa. And what does this mean? It does not just talk about safety and security. It also talks about functionality and then productivity. All right. So and these things are the things that, or should I say, are the characteristics of people who say they are model city, especially functionality, right? Another thing that I also, deduced from the plan was that this is also somewhere we've also tried with. They hinged the entire plan on 4 focal pillars, right? And the very first one, I'm trying to properly see the screen. The very first one is a thriving economy. And again,
just like they've already been thriving with, they decided or intend to build on the corporate sector that they have in the States even more. They intend to boost local manufacturing, businesses, and even trades. One of the things that was very, very instructive to me from this plan was the fact that they had a plan for the SMEs. They had the plan for the medium and small scale businesses, in the sense that they plan to do about 30%, 30% of their budget. So, okay, no procurement, right? 30% of the procurement we're going to, I don't know if they've been able to do this, but they plan to have 30% of procurement from the government angle straight directly to the SMEs. And this is basically to make them firmer, to make them even more productive and the likes, right? So the next thing was talking about a human-centric city, and this is very important because it prioritizes social infrastructure. You know, it focuses on people, focuses on improving the things that really affect the people. I know that when we talked about, when we had the KII with uh, uh, Madam Bitebo, yeah, that's her name. Uh, we talked about the people with disabilities, and this is one place that we have not done so well as a state. So I think this is one of the places that Lagos State set to also improve on, to make their city more human focused. And I think that we should also, just like Madam Bitebo said during her session, we have to like hit it so hard. And then again, one of the pillars was modern infrastructure, talking about bringing more technology-driven transports, electricity grids, digital networks, and the likes, basically. And the final pillar was going to be, or is, effective governance, sorry. All right. So everything that had already been set, I'm talking about the other three pillars, they are all hinged on this effective governance. And the last one was the funding, right? So from my deduction from the plan, they already knew that most of the monies that they are going to use to achieve the things in this plan was going to come from the private sector, right? So from this plan, they have about 70% gap in the funding, right? Only 30% was going to come from their capex, right? And the rest 70%, they plan to involve the private investors and also PPPs and the likes to balance it off. One of the things that I think is very important with this is that we know that our governments have, they've not done well with our monies, but I have to also say that um, for us to hit the place where we want to hit, I think that it is beyond a government thing. The private sector will have to come in, and for Lagos State to leave this much a gap, I'm seeing it from a positive angle, in the sense that they are planning for investors. And if they are planning for investors, it can only translate into a lot of productivities, in the sense that they bring in more money into the economy, more employment, a lot more, basically. And just like when we had the KII with Dr. Adeze, if you remember, for those of us that were on the call, we talked about this, the hospital at is it First Bank Junction, if I can remember, and they're talking about the fact that the reason why it was open and then it was shut before was because uh, initially the government had planned that this was going to be a PPP, and then somehow, some way, there are issues, that we already know with the political setting, and then everything, all the agreements and all of that, went down the drain, and they couldn't go further with that project. But I brought that up to just point out the importance of these private sectors uh, in governance. I remember that Dr. Adeze said, with the with the model of with the model that that hospital was built, only private sector, if I can remember her properly, it was such that only the private sector could properly, manage and make it have profit and the likes. So, right, what can we learn from them? Um, so the first one is institutionalizing the execution. I know a lot of us have spoken about this, so I'll not draw so much. But one thing that I can take from this is the fact that, they broke it down. I know Eben said something like this earlier, but like they broke it down into like a 3 years to do sort of a 3-year plan, such that, the 30 years is so large, so they broke it down into 3 years, and, sort of inculcated it into their budget for the every 3 years. And another thing that is worthy of note here is that they had an office. That office was like for lack of better word, I'll call it a task force, right? That is, their job is only to ensure that all the items itemized in this document, that the government of the day is following up with it. And that office is embedded in the Ministry of Budget and Planning also, right? So the next one would be to de-risk the business climate for foreign capital, basically talking about the private sector as well. So I've already spoken about that. So I'll just move to diversifying the transportation system. I think it was yesterday that we had the transport dialogue, and if I can remember, when Mr. Kabari was speaking, he spoke about the idea of having multi-modal transport systems. And this is what one thing that Lagos has tried to do better than many other states, right? So we've had so many flyovers. At some point we had.
Is it just me? I think we lost Bria.
All right, can you hear me? I think I'm back. Sorry.
Yeah, you're back. Okay.
Okay.
You said we've had
Yeah.
many flyovers and then we lost you there.
Yeah. Okay, so we've had so many flyovers. There was a governor that gave us about 12 flyovers, right? If you can remember. And all of that are only transportation that have to do with roads. And this current government, came and said they are doing, what's it called? An intercity linkage of roads and all of that. All of that is just road transportation. And River State can boast of almost the same kind of coastal line that Lagos does have. We are not utilizing it enough. I think that it is one place we also have to, to focus on, also like hit on in our plan, in our vision book, basically, so that we can be able to utilize our coastal settings and all of that. Yeah, thank you. Basically, I think that's all I have to say.
Amazing work. Thank you so much, Bira. Thanks to Bira, thanks to the both steering committee members who have their hands full with many things, but also decided to be able to join us for this review. And thanks to everyone who's taking part in this wonderful review. I think this has been a very wonderful conversation. I think finally we have Jordan. Chinonso, are you here? I know you're on the road. Are you able to speak?
Oh,
So that we
can you
can
hear me?
speak. Yes, we can hear you. Okay, cool. So let's just take Jordan and then we wrap up. Sorry, I'm going back all the way.
Oh, my God.
Okay. All right. Over to you.
Okay. First of all, this review is one of the important thing I like about this review is that it started with like a heartfelt letter from the king to the prime minister, I think, and also the return. This is showing people that actually care and how committed they are to the cause of what they want to achieve at that point in time. So I read the letters and I read the letter and also the response, and this is showing that people actually care about what they want to do and what they want to achieve and how they want to achieve it. So first of all, it started from evaluation of the current state of the Jordanian kingdom. That was one of the steps taken because if you do not figure out where you are and what the problem is, you won't be able to know how to go forward and how to go about it. So that was what they did first. Then we now moved to transformation of their development model, where they identified priority market sectors. So identifying priority market sectors, it will give you some sort of direction on what to actually do. Priority market sectors like the health sectors, like uh, the population that you have, and how to harness and how to get the best out of them. Then we move towards improve principle in collective action by changing approach towards citizenship, production, opportunity, and institution. So in the identification of the problem earlier, you figure out that that they had some issues with how opportunities are being given out and how the citizens see their approach towards work actually. So they had to like identify these measures and figure out ways to get past them. And we can actually attribute this to our situation here in River State. If we know that in River State here, we have this some sense of entitlement when it comes to doing things and getting things done. Um, we know that our people are quite entitled. That's one of the major stumbling blocks we have in developing the state. And because I remember one period where I was staying at Ajib, Fingi was under Amici, the other government, and send in they wanted to send in chairs to a school. I think to a school inside Mboshimi, and people came out and was like, "Oh, we're not going to let you send these chairs until you pay. We're not going to let you send these chairs until you pay a certain amount of money." And this is something that happens almost every day when they want to build roads, they want to do things. We feel this entitlement, so we need to change this approach first. And approach towards production, we need to make sure that what we produce and what we move out from this state is excellent. And citizenship, production, opportunities, and also institutions. So what are the things that we can learn from them? What are the things that we can learn from them? The number one here is we need to look at the size of work of the government, the structure of the government, and also develop an e-government. I've been hearing almost everybody here. One thing we can all agree on. One thing we can all agree on is the fact that at some point, we need to go digital. At some point, we need to move past this phase that we're in now. We need to go digital. If we go digital, there are lots of things that we can cut off from our budget, a lot of unnecessary things, and that we can move out from the budget that will help us to help us to move forward as a state. So, the second one, we must move from personalized to institutionalized decision. And this is for someone like me living in River State. I've been in River State all my life, and this actually stood out to me because I figured out that a lot of decision making in the states are actually personalized. They do them. They do them based on.
Are you still
Can you
there?
hear me?
Yes,
Can
we
you hear
lost you
me?
for a bit. Yes, go on, go
Perfect.
on.
So I figured out that a lot of decisions that we make as a state are sometimes personal decisions, are made based on personal interest. And that's why you see one government is doing something and the other government is doing something totally different from what the previous government is doing. And these are things that should be watched. We should stop making decisions based on personal interest and start making decisions based on the institution. That is going to help us in the long term. That is going to help us in the long term. And I think I had a final point. I'm not with my laptop now, but I didn't actually put it down. So these are things that we actually should look out for. These are things that we actually should look out for as a state.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I think the point you made about the vision starting with an open letter from the Prime Minister and from the King. We have reached out to His Excellency Sir Dr. Peter Odley. We had also reached out to His Majesty as well. That's our first military governor, Commander Alfred Jetespeed, His Majesty King Alfred Jetespeed now. We were not able to get him to write something, but hopefully we can get His Excellency Sir Dr. Peter Odley to write something. We also want the governors to also write something as well, because we think that this would be a sort of letter, a letter to the future, really, and hopefully they all join in to add their voices to the amazing work that we've done over the past 2 years. Yeah, but yeah, thanks everyone. I think right on time. We've now gone through the vision books, plans from around the world. All of the insights obviously will make it into our own vision book. Hopefully you found this exercise useful. I know it must have been stressful combining this with all of the work and personal things that we have going on. But the idea of this was to ensure that we also glean inspiration from what others are doing out there. Even though we're doing this as a pioneer citizen-led project in the country, it needs to also be resonant with what's happening globally as well. So that was mainly the idea behind that. So thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll share the recording to this later and have it on YouTube. But yeah, thanks. I guess the book committee would take on all of these findings and include it in their writing. Yeah. All right. Thanks everyone.